Michael in Uxbridge. Hello.
Hi, Sheila. Well, I think you and James need to keep banging the drum, because I don't agree with either of your last caller or the guy who said that Remain voters just want it to be done. What Remain voters want is Article 50 revoked and just to go back to the way we were. Now, the last caller said there'll still be a load of division. I don't think a referendum would work because I think it would be too close. But I think if the parties campaigned on what they say they're going to campaign on for an election, that in itself would be like a mini referendum anyway, and people would vote as they want to with the parties. They've got the Lib Dems who vote to remain, and Boris who's going to exit with no deal.
Yeah, but the problem,
or Labour who haven't made up their minds.
It would be a kind of a referendum, and yet it would be on such a different basis. And a general election, in terms of how the votes are counted, a general election should be about so much more than that. It just seems to me the wrong place for it.
Yes, but the problem with having a referendum is I think it would still be really close, and I think you would still have the same amount of problems unless Remain won, because people have short memories, and in a year's time they'd all forgotten this and carried on with their lives. I mean, I was a Conservative voter. I've been a Conservative voter for over 30 years. I voted for Boris in the mayoral elections. I voted for him in the general election, and I would never vote for him again. I also voted to leave, and then after about 6 months realised I'd made a huge mistake.
What was that? What made you realise that?
Because when I look back on it now and I can't even remember why I voted to leave. All I remember is my pencil in my hand going from one box to the other, not really knowing which one to put a cross in. I think part of it was to put two fingers up to David Cameron for even letting us have the referendum in the first place. And the second thing was the rise of the far right in certain countries across Europe was a worry to me at the time. But none of that is as bad as what we will have if we come out with no deal and have to have a mishmash of some deal put together in the following years.
Well, we've got a bit of a problem with the far right in our own country as well. Always have, and it's it's been re-emerging,
But if there was a referendum tomorrow, I would Remain 100%, because there is no way past the problem with the Irish border. There is no fix. You can't have a border in Ireland. You can't have two countries with two separate sets of rules with a freedom of movement across the borders. You can't send people to Tipperary or wherever it was to have their vans checked when it's going to add 8 hours onto their journey, which used to take them half an hour. It would be madness. It'd just be madness. If we were any other country, it wouldn't be a problem. We could just come out of Europe, put up a border, and that'd be the end of it. Go on.
Has it all made you more or less engaged with politics this whole 3-year period?
Oh, I've always been very engaged with politics anyway. I've always I did A-level government and politics, so I've always had an interest. It's made me less engaged with any of the MPs. I find myself without a party. I can't vote for Boris because I can't believe a single word that comes out of his mouth. I can't vote for Jeremy Corbyn because he's as bad as Boris, but in a different way. And that leaves the Liberal Dems, who, out of 75,000 votes in my constituency in the last election, got 2,000 votes. So, I might as well sit at home and not bother if I want to vote for the Lib. I probably will vote for Lib Dems only because I have no other option.
You might have some other people standing, you never know.
You never know, but... I might as well vote for the Lib Dems anyway, because it's just a wasted vote. I don't know. I'm hoping that the Lib Dems will win enough seats if they could win 50, 60 seats in the next election, they could well swing it in favour of either us remaining or having another referendum, and fingers crossed we win it.
But what you've just said about your vote in a general election, it's true of a lot of people. It happens, I was thinking about this the other day, it happens not to be true in mine because there is a very distinct battle between two parties. So whichever one I chose, it would be a vote that would be, have an effect.
My vote would have an effect if I voted for either of the main two parties, but I don't.
But you can't, you said you can't.
I just can't.
But I think what you've described there, the dilemma you've described, is the perfect illustration of why a general election isn't the thing that now will solve the impasse on Brexit. Because even if Boris Johnson were to get a stonking majority, yes, that would change what he can do in Parliament, but it wouldn't change what he's facing in Europe.
No, but it would allow him to leave with no deal. It would, but he'll do that. And then he could smash a deal together, and God knows what sort of deal he'd come up with the United States, I dread to think. That is one of my biggest concerns, is that they can't be trusted any more than Boris can, and they are only out for themselves, and we will not come out of that winners of any deal with the United States.
Well, Johnson's not going to be there for... Not Johnson. Well, that's true of both of them, but I meant Trump isn't going to be there forever, is he? Michael, thank you. Michael, that's not a solution to the problem you've just correctly identified, but it's just something I like to say to myself every now and again. Trump won't be there forever. Thanks, Michael.